let's go ahead and dive back. I want to touch back really quickly on the protein question that we had just touched on, because we did have somebody ask earlier, because we have some individuals in this challenge who are more plant-based in their eating, which is amazing because the Green Keto Fix is all about your diet being roughly 80% plant-based.
Yep, absolutely.
About 20% of your diet coming from other things, including your protein sources. And with that said, if you are somebody who does not want to consume animal proteins at every meal, you don't have to. If you get your recommended daily consumption in one meal or in 2 of your 3 meals, and you want to have one of your meals be protein or animal protein free, go for it. You can have one animal protein portion. You can have one portion of your protein coming from protein powder, a plant-based or bone broth-based protein, and then you can have that cover your bases. And you can do 2 full servings, 2 palm-sized servings of protein for the day, and just be a little bit more on the conservative end with that. And make sure that you are getting in things like broccoli, hemp seeds, that are plant-based sources that are also high in protein.
I'd say if you're probably going to look at the vegan route, it's probably a little bit more challenging. It just is across the board. I mean, that's just vegans across the board. But to be a vegetarian, it's pretty doable.
This is a very, very doable way, or to be very heavily plant-based and do keto. It's very doable. It's just making sure that you are paying attention to getting enough protein, because generally speaking, we're also going to be getting some protein from our plant matter. And usually where most people go wrong with keto is that they don't get enough plant matter in their diet, and they're too focused on just fats. So moving on to the next question, we did have a lot of people message in and ask us, where's the sample meal plan?
Yeah.
Where is the sample meal plan?
There is none.
There is none. And we're going to explain to you why. There is not a sample plan, meaning that I did not sit down and write out, today have this, tomorrow have this. I don't know what you like.
I don't know what your lifestyle is like.
So what we did do is we included a blank meal planning template. We included a blank shopping template. And we included a boatload of recipes. All you need to do is reverse engineer that.
Just plug and play.
Plug and play, friends.
Yeah.
Plug and play, or plug and cook. So go into your menu or go into your list of recipes and pick one of those recipes and reverse engineer. Does it have protein? Does it have a healthy fat source? Does it have vegetables? Boom. Done. And then reverse engineer your week. And if you can reverse engineer your week, and we already know that we want one of your meals for the day replaced by what? Anybody? Anybody? Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Make a soup shake.
Use your blender.
So we want you to replace one of your meals for the day with a super shake. And we give you some ideas in there for your super shake. So that takes care of one. And then you can do the rest of the work. It's going to be much more beneficial. It is going to be much more effective if you put together your own meal plan using the information that we have provided.
Yeah.
So it's that idea of teaching. Ooh, cut out for a second. It is that idea of teaching a man how to fish.
Yeah.
Rather than catching the fish for them. Because I'm teaching you nothing if I write you the meal plan. I'm getting you to blindly follow a piece of paper.
We've been doing this a really long time. Meal plans don't work.
Meal plans will work for a very short period of time until you get sick of the meal plan.
Yeah, if you have to get ready for a really, really specific thing or something, yeah, it can be beneficial. But for long term and adapting it to behavior change, terrible. It just does not work.
And since the point of this is to be a learn by doing challenge, we want you to learn by doing. And the doing part is the putting together of the meals. It's the reverse engineering how you want your day to look, because the way I want your day to look may not be the way you want your day to look. And how effective is that meal plan going to be? It's not. It's absolutely not. Your schedule is different than my schedule. And when I start writing meal plans, then it becomes, well, what about the person that works out in the morning? Well, what about the person that works out in the afternoon? Well, what about the person that works out in the evening? And then you end up writing 3 different meal plans. And then those 3 different meal plans, they end up getting boring in about a week.
Yeah, a week or 2, they're boring.
So learning how to put together your own meal plan is going to prevent meal boredom. It is going to prevent you from having to follow something that I want you to follow. And it's going to give you a sense of empowerment.
Yeah. Because you think
so
about,
you can own it.
You're doing this more than likely like at your house right now, right? Well, if it's just a meal plan, doable for a while at your house. But you got to think, you don't always live at your house. You don't always eat at your house. You eat at work. You go out for dinners. You travel. You do those things. So you want to create all those habits and understand the foundation of why you're doing what you're doing. So when you go to that restaurant, you can actually scan the menu and be like, oh, okay, I know I need this, I need this, I need this. Okay, that's what I need to eat right there.
And that brings up that next question that we were asked. What do I do when I travel? What do I do when I go out to eat? It's that. It's taking the recommendations that we just gave you for your protein, for your fat, and applying that to whatever menu you're looking at. Reverse engineer, teaching you how to go fishing for the right food.
Because it's totally doable to go out and eat this way. A lot of people are like, it's just too hard to do it. I'm just going to go off plan and I'm going to do this. Like, no, use what you've learned and go and do it. Now, is it going to be perfect? It may not be perfect, but that's okay. But you're doing the absolute best job in what you have in front of you.
Totally. So we had a question, what prepared meals are keto friendly? And I have a couple responses to this question. And the first response to that question is, 1, let's look at your prepping strategies. What are you doing each week to bulk prep for yourself so that you have an abundance of home cooked food available for yourself? If you absolutely do not have time to prep your food for the week for whatever reason, there are some meal services that do prepare keto friendly options. Mm-hmm. And we do work alongside one of them. It's a company called Kettlebell Kitchen, and they are located throughout the Chicagoland area, and throughout the United States, actually.
They're on the East Coast, and they're in the Midwest right now. So
Kettlebell Kitchen does have locations scattered throughout the United States, and there are other meal services that are very similar to a company like Kettlebell Kitchen that do keto-friendly meals. And there are also people like my friend Tisha, who is doing the Green Keto Fix, who are private chefs, who are for hire, and you'd be surprised, pretty reasonably priced. Cheaper than going out to eat.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Like, way cheaper. So if you know someone in your area who provides that type of service, or you know of a company in the area that provides that type of service with high quality foods, there's nothing wrong with hiring someone else to do the prepping process for you. What I do encourage you to shy away from are going to the freezer section and looking for frozen keto meals. Things like that are heavily processed, highly preserved, and opt for something simple like going into the deli section of the grocery store, grabbing yourself a rotisserie chicken, going into the freezer section and grabbing yourself some frozen broccoli, and going into the produce section and getting yourself a couple avocados. Done. Yeah. Meal served. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it. The more you try to overcomplicate things, the harder this process of change is going to be. And the more discouraged you're going to get. We had a question about taking Tums. Dr. Tyler, can you take this question?
Tums. So yeah, I get that. I've got this question a lot. So I will start with saying I took Tums when I was a kid growing up because my dad's a pharmacist and that's just what I took. And it helps for a little bit, but then it would, I needed to use more. And I always had to use more. So you see that person who has Tums always in their purse or always in their car. And the reason for that is it's a short-term solution for a long-term problem. And so I don't use Tums at all. I haven't used Tums for almost 10 years now. It's been, because I got to hang out with a lot of naturopaths, I got to learn a lot of things. So I use deglycerated licorice for it. It works way better, and you don't have to take it a ton. And I mean, you can agree to that.
Yeah, deglycerated licorice or DGL is a chewable. It's another chewable. It's a botanical, and it is going to have the same effect as Tums. It's definitely something that we have used to triage any potential acid reflux issues or upset stomach issues along the way. But generally speaking, eating this way and doing this type of approach, it should actually take care of heartburn, GERD, indigestion, acid reflux, and most things in that arena done correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that is one of the good things about the Green Keto Fix is that it does encourage the body to have a healing response with a lot of digestive issues.
Yeah, so long-term wise, you're in a much better, eating this way is going to give you a much happier and healthier digestive system. So you shouldn't eat them in the long run.
Awesome. So let's see. We had a question. Are sweet potatoes, carrots, legumes not acceptable during this challenge? Well, we are trying to achieve keto. So for each of you, your tolerance to anything starchy is going to vary. But when we are trying to get into ketosis, you need to work on eliminating all sources of carbohydrates that are not, fibrous and low carb. So meaning if it's not vegetables and if it's a higher sugar vegetable, it likely will pull you out of ketosis, especially if you're in the beginning stages and trying to get into it. Those are the types of things that would prevent you from getting into ketosis. So and I know it was specifically in regards to the idea that we typically recommend that in that post-workout window, that's the window you consume your carbohydrates for the day if fat loss is your priority. Well, when we're trying to achieve ketosis, our priority is not consuming carbs. Mm-hmm. So it's a fine line. You may have to peel back the intensity of your workouts to accommodate your keto.
Yeah. In people who do in bodies like we have at our facility, what you're going to notice is you will see a decrease in muscle mass. Not that you really actually truly have a decrease in muscle mass, but you have to think about what's happening with your glycogen storages in your body and where that's kept, which is in your muscle.
Right.
So as your glycogen stores start going further and further down, the in-body is going to perceive that as decreased muscle mass. But as soon as you go out of ketosis and you start to put carbohydrates in your life again, you're going to see that number shoot way up.
Right. So it's simply this shift in water within the muscle belly itself that's showing you that fluctuation in hydration level. It's not an actual loss of muscle tissue if you're consuming the right amount of food. And if you were consuming food and in ketosis and following these balanced meal suggestions, that fluctuation is purely due to water loss. Mm-hmm.